Hey everybody, Catalyst here, welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are doing well. Today we're going to be going over some of the best weapons in Battlefield 2042 after the spread changes in Season 5. If you've been out of the loop a little bit, DICE have changed the amount of spread across all weapons in Battlefield 2042, and they have done so with two separate patches. One at the beginning of the season for assault rifles and DMRs, and one that came out in the patch the other week that tweaked LMGs and SMGs. So if you're wondering why this video is coming out so late in the season and coming out at such a weird time, I thought it would be best to wait until all the guns were adjusted with the new spread multipliers to give you an assessment that will hopefully last you not only for the rest of Season 5 but well into Season 6 and beyond, as I don't think that DICE are going to tweak the gunplay in a major way after this. So this is going to be a longer video. We have no time to waste here. Let's get right into it. If you enjoy the video, drop a like on it, leave a comment on which weapons you're using the most recently. Did I miss your favorite weapon? Let me know. Okay, let's get started. To start off the video today, I want to quickly talk about how I came to choose these weapons out of the rest. I have narrowed down the list to 11 weapons that I think are better than every other weapon in the game. Now, that does not mean that if a specific weapon does not make this list, that it is tremendous dog water and it's unusable. I mean, some are, but there are plenty of weapons in the game that you can do well with, like the AK-24, but for me personally, there are other weapons that I would prefer over it right now. If you want a blanket assessment of the meta, you really can't go wrong with any assault rifle or DMR, specifically because of the 2.5x headshot multiplier that they get, and a lot of the weapons on this list will reflect that, as micro bursting and the ability to hit headshots frequently played a big part in picking this list. Also, there is a stunning lack of LMGs on the list, and that is because overall, I don't like how the LMGs feel after their update, and I imagine that there will be changes in this area. If there are changes after this video releases, I am confident that the Avances and LCMG will be thrust back into the meta, but for now, it's predominantly assault rifles and DMRs. So with that being said, some honorable mentions to start off as always, and we've got a couple today. First, the PP2000, one of the few SMGs on the list. The PP2K was an underrated weapon in the meta to begin with, and the added weapon attachments for Vault SMGs that were in the patch a couple of weeks ago have only really solidified that even more. I think that it's a fun weapon to use, but the bullet velocity really holds it back in this meta, as you need to adjust your aim to account for that, along with the added spread. That's what keeps it off the list. Next, the AK-24. I think this is a great beginner weapon if you're just starting out, and it's very easy to control and manage. The reason it's not on the proper list is that there are just so many other assault rifles that do what the AK-24 does, but they do it better. There are no sniper rifles on the list because I think that they should be considered in their own category, and to be honest with you, all the sniper rifles really feel the same to me, so just pick your favorite if you're coming here for sniper rifles. My favorite is the Gold Magnum. And with that being said, let's start the list with the newest assault rifle added to Battlefield 2042, the GEW-46. Releasing as part of Season 5, the GEW-46 is a 4-shot kill out to 20 meters, and then it's a 5-shot kill up to around 60 meters, which is a pretty hefty 5-shot kill range, and it has a decent enough fire rate at 700 RPM. But the thing that makes the GEW really strong is that initial spread of the first 6 bullets that you fire. This will be a reoccurring trait among a lot of the top weapons in today's video, but after the spread changes, the assault rifles that have the smallest amount of spread in their opening 5 to 6 rounds, or the weapons that feel the best to burst fire, are generally speaking going to be your better weapons because the meta has focused a lot more on micro bursting. For the GEW, the recoil is mostly vertical, so it's very easy for you to climb into a headshot while bursting at 5 to 6 shots and dropping people really quickly by hitting that headshot with a 2.5x multiplier. So it could be a real strength, and you can drop people really quickly at some pretty insane ranges. But once you get later into the magazine, it's where the GEW can struggle a little bit with spread, which is why it's not considered to be elite, just really good. The GEW-46 also has a really nice reload speed for the high power extended mag, which is the mag that you should be using, which can't really be said for a lot of the other weapons that also run this ammo type, so it's a very dependable weapon with a good reload, doesn't really lack in any one area except for maybe rate of fire, but all in all, it's a very solid weapon. I run my GEW with a red dot sight, high powered extended mag, BCG grip, and the ARCOM tactical muzzle brake for less horizontal recoil. Oh, and I forgot to mention this list is in no particular order, so before all you GEW enjoyers get all uppity because your GEW is ranked at number 10, there is really no number 10. It's literally just a list with no order. Next, we have the AC-42, which I feel is sort of the forgotten gun of Battlefield 2042 because it's the only burst weapon in the game, unless you include the G57 and NVK pistols. Previously, the knock on the AC-42 was that because pretty much every gun in the game would have been able to kill you from extreme ranges with pretty good accuracy, you needed to hit your first burst with the AC-42 in order to win a lot of gunfights. So with spread being increased across the board, the AC-42 now has a place in the meta as being a very consistent, little to no spread burst weapon that you can really find a good groove with at medium to long ranges. It might be the best long-range assault rifle in the game at the moment, and it's especially good if you're on controller because you get 30% less recoil than if you are using mouse and keyboard. It doesn't matter how many times I say that, people are always surprised to find that out and try to argue with me, but no, that's the way that it works. So if you hit all the shots on your burst, this gun can absolutely put people down quickly and effectively, especially if you hit headshots with the 2.5x headshot multiplier on assault rifles, which if you hit all headshots, you can one burst players up to 30 meters away. It is not possible to one burst players without hitting a headshot unless you are barrel stuffing them, so having that one burst potential up to 30 meters away, granted it's really rarely going to happen, but still, that's pretty strong. Just hitting body shots, if you hit every shot on your burst, you can kill people with 2 bursts up to 45 meters away. So yeah, this gun could put in work at longer ranges, and you practically do not need to worry about spread, which in this meta is a pretty strong attribute. So give this one a try. I run my AC-42 with a tactical compensator, red dot sight, standard extended ammo, and the BCG light grip. Moving on to the first SMG on the list, we have the PBX. You know what, I actually think I started off the last weapons video with AC-42 and PBX back to back, which is kind of funny that I put them back to back here again. In a market of very little reliable submachine guns, I think that the PBX is a pretty good option dependent on your playstyle. I find the PBX to be one of the more underrated weapons in the game, and I think that if you have a more aggressive playstyle and don't want to run an assault rifle, but also don't want to run the bullet hose SMGs like the K30 and AC9, which can be a little bit more of a hit marker machine, especially with all this spread, then you might like the PBX. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that you aren't going to feel the spread changes on the PBX, because you will, and the fact that SMGs still have a relatively low headshot multiplier doesn't help them, but I think that in terms of what the PBX is marketed to be, it does its job. It's an 850 round per minute, 45 BTK up to 35 meters, which will definitely put you in range to compete with some of the other solid weapons in the game. Yes, it turns into a bit of a pea shooter past 35 meters, but in comparison to the other SMGs in the game, this thing is reliable in the places you need it to be. I run my PBX loadout with a red dot sight, tactical compensator, the standard mag, and BCG light grip, though the close combat rounds are also good, and somebody actually told me that they're bugged and have better range than the standard mag, but I'm not exactly sure if that's true. Okay, so these next two guns I have basically neck and neck with one another. Remember that this list isn't really in any order until the final 3 weapons that we talk about, but these next two guns are very similar in performance, so I thought it would be best to loop them together. So first, let's talk about the ACWR, which has made a complete turnaround from being one of the worst guns in the game to being one of the best. It got some buffs, it got some attachments, and now it's one of the more enjoyable weapons to use in the game. What can I say? This thing feels good to use. I know that's not very helpful in explaining why a particular weapon is good or not, but in my experience, take this for what it is. If something feels good, it's usually because it is good. The ACWR is a 4-shot kill out to 30 meters, which is a pretty beefy 4-shot kill range, and then it drops off to a 5-shot kill the rest of the way. And out of all the weapons on this list, I feel like you have the most leadway in holding down your trigger and mag dumping before you need to reset your spread, which maybe is why I enjoy it so much. I would say that if you are struggling with the spread changes, if you were doing just fine previously, but now you're struggling with managing your spread, I think you will enjoy the ACWR, because it just seems like it builds up less spread over time than other assault rifles. I don't know if that's placebo or what, but it just feels like the ACWR is more lenient. The thing that really holds the ACWR from being held in higher esteem is the slow reload. All vault weapons also have this weird hitch in its reload that doesn't really feel good, and even with the addition of the all-out warfare attachments, it still feels like the ACWR is lacking a bit in terms of underbarrel, magazine, and muzzle options. So pretty much the standard loadout is all you have, which isn't a bad thing because it's good, but variety is the spice of life. I run the ACWR with a wrap suppressor, red dot sight, STNR laser sight, and extended mag. Now, as far as the RM68 is concerned, this thing absolutely dominated the game during Season 4. I mean, this thing was overpowered the entire 3 months that Season 4 lasted, and for good reason. Very tight spread, integrated suppressor that could be combined with a short barrel, mostly vertical recoil, good damage, good range. So after some nerfs and some spread changes, the RM68 is still really good, and in my opinion, it's probably the second best assault rifle in the game. The only knock on the RM68 is that even though it has a very similar rate of fire to the ACWR and the GEW46, you're kind of forced to use the standard extended ammo, which does have a slower reload speed. It's what you should be using anyways, since 20 rounds isn't really enough for the RM68, and the close combat rounds can also be inconsistent with spread. So I think that if you're playing aggressively with this gun, you'll find yourself reloading a lot, which isn't always ideal. Really what takes the RM68 over the top though is the suppressed short barrel, which the short barrel already has a high pick rate when it's available on weapons, so to have it be suppressed as well allows you to be aggressive and difficult to track. That's obviously something that the ACWR can't do, so that sets the RM apart a little bit. The RM has the same damage model as the ACWR, so it's a 4-shot kill out to 30 meters, where it drops off to a 5-shot kill pretty much as far as you ever want to engage from. So to have that tight of a spread and be a 5 BTK out to long ranges, you can still beam with this thing, and the AR headshot multiplier, which we've talked about a lot already, allows you to easily climb into headshots and absolutely melt people. And for me personally, I think the RM68 feels the best to microburst, so you can get really beamy with this thing. I run my loadout with a red dot sight, standard extended mag, short barrel, and a BCG grip. Alright, next gun on the list is the M39 EMR. This thing is broken. Let me put it to you all like this. The M39 is essentially the SVK, but with a reduced 2-shot kill range as a trade-off for faster rate of fire and a larger magazine. The M39's 2-shot kill range ends at 40 meters, but 40 meters is well within the majority of gunfights that you will be taking in Battlefield 2042, so this almost doesn't even matter. So essentially, in using the M39, you are using the SVK, but with a much faster fire rate and anywhere between 15 to 12 more rounds of ammo, depending on the ammo type that you're using. And again, the 75-meter 2-shot kill range of the SVK is irrelevant here, unless you're one of those creatures that prones on map borders in a bush. So since the M39 is supposed to work in these shorter ranges, you can also use optics that don't have scope glint like the SVK does. The M39 is basically the what-if scenario if you took the SVK and did away with all its negative attributes and reduced the range from 75 meters, but still kept it within the range of nearly every gunfight you will ever take in the game. Yeah, I know. The recoil can get a little intense if you really go ham on the rate of fire, but if you slap on the Warhawk compensator, it's not unmanageable. This gun is very difficult to beat if you're playing against a scumbag player like me that knows angles and knows how to work them really well in this game and just pre-aims a lot. You will be dropped in 2 shots effortlessly. Not to mention that if you hit a headshot with this thing within the 2-shot kill range, it's 96 damage. That alone leads to a lot of 1-shot headshot kills on weak enemies, and at the very least softens them up for your teammates to kill. Obviously, the reason that I don't consider this among the elite weapons is because it's a bit one note in terms of its playstyle, but if this is your playstyle, you will rack up a lot of kills with this thing. I run the M39 with the Maul Hybrid 1.5/3x sight, the Warhawk compensator, standard extended ammo, and the laser sight. Now we head over to the M5A3, which at this point I'm pretty sure there will never be a best weapons video without talking about the M5, simply because it's such a versatile and all-around good weapon. This is the weapon that I always suggest for new players to rock with for a little while because it really can do everything. You can run it more as a traditional assault rifle, you can run it as a hybrid, you can run it as an SMG, and because of the plus system, you can do it all at once. The M5 is a 5-shot kill out to 30 meters to where it will become a 6-shot kill, and your time to kill really depends on how fast your rate of fire is because it's pretty consistent otherwise. Close combat rounds up the BTK from 5 to 6 to 6 to 7, but that's not really noticeable. While it was number 1 in the last best weapons video around the time of Season 3, with all the changes that has happened since then, it has slipped a little bit due to power creep. Don't get me wrong, the M5 absolutely has the capability to do well, but with the M5 really leaning more heavily into using either the close combat or the short barrel to get a higher TTK, the spread is going to be more of an issue for you on the M5. The days of you just holding down the trigger of the M5 and beaming people across the map effortlessly are over, apart from some rare instances in which you hit headshots, but again, it's a super friendly weapon for new players and it's still really versatile. I run my M5A3 with a short barrel, aperture sight, extended standard mag, or close combat rounds, and the STNR laser sight. On now to the only LMG on this list, the RPT-31. The RPT for a good majority of Season 5 was an absolute monster, but after the spread changes were implemented on LMGs, it's been handicapped a little bit, and it feels pretty different. Now, it should be known that I am not the biggest fan of LMGs in this game. The sprint to fire delay that you get while using them just does not gel well with my playstyle. In addition to that, the changes that DICE have made to LMG spread doesn't feel quite right to me, as I said at the beginning of the video, and I expect there to be changes in that area. With that being said, right now you really cannot hold down the trigger with LMGs before the spread goes crazy, which kind of defeats the purpose of using an LMG in my opinion, but it's all about maximizing the damage output that you can do in small bursts of 10 shots or so, and the RPT is a 5-shot kill with standard ammunition out to 50 meters, which is pretty beefy, which makes the high-powered rounds a bit obsolete because you'll never need to take an engagement any further away than that. So the RPT, in my opinion, fits the mold of how DICE wants you to use LMGs the best. You can get the rate of fire up to 790 rounds per minute, which next to the PKP is the fastest in class, and with a mostly vertical recoil pattern, it's not terrible to control. If you need extra help with the recoil, you can slap on the RCOM tactical muzzle brake to make it even more vertical, but with a fast rate of fire, manageable recoil, and 200 round magazine, the RPT is my choice of LMG as long as you can manage your spread correctly and burst effectively. I run the RPT with a red dot sight, BCG grip, standard issue ammo, and either an RCOM muzzle brake or short barrel. So the next 3 weapons that we'll be talking about are what I would consider to be the best 3 weapons in the game at the moment in no particular order. Here it is, my beloved PP. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are tired of seeing this gun being in the meta, and I do think that a nerf may be necessary at some point. But the PP29 is by far and away the best SMG in the game, and depending on your playstyle, it might be the best weapon in the game, period. Even though the PP29 has been affected by the spread changes, it doesn't affect the gun as harshly because of the massive magazine options that the weapon has. The PP29 is a 4-shot up to 30 meters like most SMGs, and is a 5-shot up to 50 meters, and even longer than that if you're using the high power rounds, which I suggest that you do. Whereas the PBX really drops off at that 30-meter range, the PP29 just does not feel like it drops off at all, and if you're good at managing your spread, the PP29 has extremely good range. Look no further than the background gameplay. Like, this is the gun that just clicks for me. It's my farm weapon, and as I've said in previous best weapons videos, the perk of not having to worry about reloading constantly like with a lot of other SMGs is such a huge perk, and the PP29 actively competes with a lot of the assault rifles that we've already talked about on this list. Again, the meta really is shifting towards these average rate of fire but very accurate weapons, and even though the PP29 doesn't have the crazy headshot multipliers that ARs do, it still can beat out some of these weapons. My PP loadout is a red dot sight, though this particular sight is part of a legendary weapon skin. I'm going to say that now before people ask in the comments, so you can either run a normal red dot sight, aperture sight, high power rounds, and a champion muzzle brake or wrapped suppressor. Next on the list is the SFAR, which if I had to pick out of the 3 weapons in this final bunch, I think the SFAR definitely has a strong argument of being the best gun in the game at the moment. It just personifies the average rate of fire, extremely accurate, easy to control spread weapons that are coming into form in this meta right now. The SFAR took a bit of a backseat in recent seasons as the RM68 and N5 were just dominating everything, but now the SFAR is really, really good. The SFAR is a 4-shot shot kill out to 50 meters when using the high-powered rounds, which you should be using. And again, this is one of those weapons that if you mitigate a lot of the horizontal recoil, the recoil of the gun will naturally allow you to climb into these headshots. You can really abuse the 2.5x headshot multiplier that assault rifles get with the SFAR. Sure, the rate of fire is on the slower side, and sometimes you will lose out to guns like the RM68 that do have a faster rate of fire, but overall, I find this gun to just be a headshot machine, and it's really easy to manage the spread on the SFAR. So this gun is still the king of long-range assault rifles, and of course the added benefits of the SFAR is that it comes with the built-in grenade launcher, which is really nice. It's not something that you use all the time, but it's definitely an added perk worth mentioning if you are running a class that's not engineer. So to have that little extra AT without having to run C5 is really nice. My loadout for the SCAR is a red dot sight, ARCOM muzzle brake, high power drum magazine with AP rounds in the grenade launcher. Finally, the other candidate for best weapon in the game and the last gun that we'll be talking about today, the BSVM. Even after multiple nerfs to the BSVM spread since it came out in Season 1, even before the spread changes of Season 5, the BSVM was really strong, but with every other weapon in the game also receiving spread tweaks, the BSVM is once again a complete monster. The biggest strength of this weapon still is that you can fire it in full auto, which just puts it on another level above every other DMR apart from maybe the M39, but that's a horse of a different color. Yes, the spread at times with the BSVM will give you some trouble. There will be times when you're using the weapon and you'll get frustrated that your bullets are just going all over the place, but the moments in which the BSVM gets you kills at longer ranges that you just would not be able to get otherwise completely redeems all the moments of frustration that you have with this weapon. The BSVM is a 3-shot kill up to around 75 meters when using the high power ammunition, and this allows you to easily contest snipers. There have been plenty of times where a sniper misses one shot on me, I see their scope glint, and then I send 3 quick shots their way and kill them instantly. And of course, the gun is completely suppressed, so you can do all of this silently. The really powerful thing about the BSVM is that there is no real drop-off between magazines. With the BSVM, you'll be burning through ammo really quickly, so unless you're playing Angel or you're in a squad that's running ammo, you'll be moving through your ammo really quickly and very often. And I'll get to the close combat ammunition, and even that is strong, and you could run that entirely on its own with that ammunition type and still do really well if you wanted to. It's just so powerful at all ranges, and it's so versatile. It's hard to not recognize that this is probably the strongest gun in the game at the moment. And even though the spread will screw you over sometimes, the positives greatly outweigh the negatives. My loadout for the BSVM is the hybrid 1.5-3x sight, so I can switch between a red dot and an ACOG sight, the short barrel, both high power extended mags, and then close combat rounds with the BCG light grip. And that's the end of the video, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the 11 or so weapons that I would consider to be the best in the game after the spread changes that came in patch 5.2. What weapon do you guys enjoy using the most after the update? Let me know in the comment section. It greatly helps me in the algorithm. If you would like the video, please leave a like, and if you enjoyed it just that much, consider subscribing. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. My name is Catalyst. I will see you all another time.